Hello and welcome. Welcome to Little Likac podcast, episode 97. And this is episode 97. I have just looked back on my last few podcasts and seen that I've got my numbering really messed up. This is definitely episode 97. I am probably going to go back and rename a couple of the previous podcasts because I think I've put up two episode 95s. This is episode 97. So welcome. My name is Amanda and I'm coming to you from Derby in the United Kingdom. This is a knitting and crochet podcast, and if you're not interested in knitting and crochet, this is not the podcast for you. Yes, my name's Amanda. Today is Sunday the 17th of August. It's been just over about 2.5 weeks since our last podcast. Boy, has it been a busy couple of weeks. Lots to tell you about, lots to show you. And one question that needs answering. I've been on holiday. I've been to Morocco. The question you want to know the answer to is, did I buy yarn when I was in Morocco? You'll have to wait and see, but I will be answering that question in today's episode. Right, I have got some finished objects, I've got works in progress, and I do have some acquisitions. So, are you ready? I don't know how long this is going to be, probably 45 minutes to an hour, something like that, because I've got lots to show you and lots to talk to you about. So yeah, it's Sunday the 17th of August. Yesterday was my birthday and I spent most of the day, in fact all of the day, at a yarn show where I was vending. So it was a very, very full-on busy day, but a lovely day. So the first thing I am going to say is, those of you that watched the channel and came and saw me at the show and came over and told me that you watch, thank you so much. I think actually that show yesterday, although it was a very quiet show, I actually think I had more people come and tell me that they watched the podcast than I've been seeing at any other show I've been to. Maybe that's because it was quieter. People felt that it was a little bit more intimate and could talk. I don't know. But yeah, honestly, more people yesterday said that they watched the podcast, and a few people said they had come to the show because they had seen me talk about it on the podcast or saw my Instagram. So if you were one of those people, thank you so much. I said to a few of you yesterday that although I know people watch the podcast, I'm always still taken by surprise when I actually meet somebody in real life. So yeah, thank you if you came and said hello to me, and thank you if you bought something. And it was a really lovely day, lovely show. Let me just tell you a little bit about where I was as well, actually, because the show yesterday was in a village called Port Sunlight. I had kept saying that it was a show in Liverpool. Well, it's actually, I'm not sure how many miles out of Liverpool, but probably at least 10 miles out of Liverpool. Then I think I'd started to say it was on the Wirral, and it is. But what I did not know is the village that it's in, Port Sunlight, is a beautiful place, really interesting. It's a village that was actually built by the Lever brothers, which are now Unilever company. So it was a village that was built by that company to house their workers. But these were not slum terraced houses. These were lovely 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, even 4-bedroom houses, all semi-detached, all with gardens, and very much about having a healthy, happy workforce who were more likely then to stay loyal to your company and more likely to be, you know, just, I don't know, better, healthier individuals. Anyway, so that was a complete surprise. I knew nothing about the village. Since I arrived there on Friday and realised, because I could tell straight away that it was kind of like a garden city, I immediately started Googling it and found out more information about it. And yeah, honestly, what a hidden gem, and an important part of British history as well. So yes, so one other thing I will say as well, and again actually what I was quite impressed with is that this is not a hidden thing about it. If you go on the actual official Port Sunlight history page, it will tell you as well that although the Lever brothers did really look after their workforce in the UK, it does also acknowledge the fact that that's not necessarily the case about people in other countries where they were sourcing materials from, and it does openly now state about how they did use and buy products that had perhaps used forced labour in other countries. So I am also going to acknowledge that as well, because that's another part of that history, which is also important to acknowledge. So yes, if I go up to that show again next year, which I'm hoping I will go to the museum there though and actually find out even more about the place. Right, so yes, that was yesterday. Let me show you my finished objects. So the two finished objects that I'm going to show you today both travelled to Morocco with me. You can see one thing here. This is my socks for the August Footsie and You Know It make along. This pair of socks were actually started in the airport. Which airport did we fly from? Birmingham Airport on Saturday the 2nd of August. I took the needles and the yarn through security separately, as in I hadn't actually cast it on. So I had the 5 wooden DPNs and the ball of yarn, and I was hoping to get those through security fine, which I did. So I literally cast these socks on at the airport, started knitting them there and knitted on the plane. A lot of the knitting on this was done in the evenings in Marrakesh. So we would spend the day by the pool or go out and visit somewhere, and then in the evening we would come down to the hotel restaurant, have a drink or two before going into the restaurant. I would be knitting then after we came out we would sit outside in the bar area. It was quite well lit, so I carried on knitting on these. I am going to say some of these parts of these are more laddered than I usually have from DPNs, and I'm going to say that's possibly my tension was looser because I was relaxed. It was very warm as well, which I wonder if that made a difference, and also sometimes I'd had a few drinks. We met another lovely couple, and the lady that of the couple I met, she was fascinated and asked me all the time, so she was delighted. She was actually really pleased to see that the finished object, both socks finished, before we left. So I worked on those, and that was what I worked on mostly. However, I did take 2 other projects with me, which I will show you. Anyway, let me just tell you a little bit of information about these socks. They are knitted in West Yorkshire Spinners. The colourway is Hope, which is one of the Yarndale colourways. I think it was last year's Yarndale colourway. So the colourway is called Hope. So West Yorkshire Spinners, very, very well known British brand of sock yarn. And yes, I knitted these on 2.5mm needles, 60 stitches, about 10-12 rows of rib, and then heel flap and gusset, etc, etc. So yeah, happy with those. Now that has just made me realise that it is probably time to do another giveaway, isn't it, for the June and July socks. I'm actually not going to do that today because what I do need to do is just double check that I've got it will be the June socks, wasn't it? I haven't double checked that I've definitely got all any email entries into that thread, so I'm going to leave that today, and next podcast I will do the draw for the June socks. I've also said last video, I asked if people would like me to do a little tutorial video on how to upload photos onto Ravelry. I am still planning on doing that. Lots of you said yes. Obviously, since I filmed that, I've been on holiday, I've prepped for a yarn show, I've done a yarn show, so I haven't had time to do that, but I will do a little video on how to upload photos onto Ravelry. So we will do the next draw in the next podcast, okay? I hope you can forgive me for that, guys. I just don't want to miss somebody, and I know that I haven't double checked entries for any email entries, etc, still for June. Okay, right, so that's enough about those socks. I don't know if I've already mentioned this, but next year I am planning, instead of knitting 12 pairs of socks for myself, the plan next year is that it will be 12 pairs of socks for my husband, so they will have to be bigger socks. Okay, so the other finished item, also an item I took on holiday. I didn't finish it on holiday, I've literally finished this morning. So that is the Tanktop. Ta-da! So this is a king cole pattern. I will show you the pattern in a minute. It's a paper pattern. I'll show you the pattern in a minute, and it is a DK weight tank top, vest top, whatever you want to call it. I think this is going to be really great tank top for me to wear to work, and that is the plan. That's what I knitted it for, really, was thinking it'd make really nice work wear. The yarn is King Cole Simply Denim, and the colourway is Purple Denim. This took 2.5 balls, so 100 grams. So it's a very, excuse me, itchy eye. It's a very cost-effective project. So the yarn comes in 100 gram balls. It is 50% acrylic, 50% cotton. It's really soft, got a lovely feel to it. So King Cole Simply Denim DK, and as I say, the colourway is Purple Denim, which is 5501. Okay, so I forgot to show you the pattern for the King Cole, so I'm going to edit in now me showing you the pattern details for the King Cole tank top. So it is King Cole 6156 DK pattern. You get the tank top pattern, but you also get the sweater jumper pattern as well, which is pretty much the same, although I think I did notice, no, I was going to say I thought I noticed a difference on the V, but I'm imagining that. No, so it's pretty much the same thing, just oh, I know what I noticed, it's got much longer ribbing on the sweater. I knew there was a difference. Much longer ribbing, and therefore a longer garment. So right, back to where I was before. So use 2.5 balls of that. So last time you saw this, when I had a podcast last, a couple of weeks ago, I had finished the back of, no I hadn't, I'd done the front, hadn't I? I'd completed the front. So I took it on holiday. I did almost all of the back on holiday. Now I didn't take this down to the bar in the evenings. This was something that I worked on if we went up to the room in the afternoon. It was very hot. I mean, we were in Morocco, that is North Africa, in August, so we knew it was going to be hot, and it reached like 45-46 degrees, and it stayed that temperature, you know, into the evening as well. Some nights it didn't drop down below sort of like 30 degrees. So yes, so sometimes in the afternoon we would go up to the room and just have a break from the heat and a break from the sunshine and spend a couple of hours up in the room, and so that's when I worked on this. So I finished the back when we got home from Morocco. So we got home on, well, the early hours of Wednesday morning. So Wednesday was the first full day. I spent that day dyeing yarn. So I got the August club dyeing done that day. They've still not been posted yet. They are being posted this week. So Wednesday I did the dyeing, and then on Thursday we actually went, had a family day out. My eldest daughter has almost finished her master's degree at university. She's just got a couple of weeks left to go, but she has got a new job, her first proper job, and she's moving city, so we went to visit where she's moving to, and she was looking for accommodation, checked out a few places, found a place, thank goodness. So Thursday was a family day, and then so Thursday evening I think I did the neckband Thursday evening. Then Friday I went to up to Port Sunlight. So Friday evening in the hotel I got one armband done. And then yesterday I got home from the show and I was so exhausted I didn't want to think about picking up stitches. So I did it this morning, picked up the last stitches on the last armband, did the ribbing on that and sewed the seams together. So I'm really pleased to have that finished though, because that's going to be great for the start of term. And also, I think I said last podcast, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed by the number of whips I've got, so I am really trying to get some finished objects. So it's really nice, and I put this down as a target to have this finished for the end of August. More about that later. I think I am going to talk a little bit about how I'm going to attack the whips over the next few months. So there was one more project I took with me. I got into this mindset, or I was convinced for some reason this time that my knitting needles were going to get taken by security. Don't know why, I just had this feeling that they were. So even though, so obviously the tank top was in my main luggage anyway, so that didn't go through security, but the DPNs for the West Yorkshire spinner socks, I just kept thinking, what if they take them, what if they confiscate the needles, then I'm going to have this ball of yarn and I'm not going to have any way to knit it. So I put into my hand luggage an emergency sock project, and I did work on these just on one day. So this pair of socks are known as my Slimming World socks. So these are the socks that I have been knitting for my Slimming World consultant, who asked me to knit a pair of socks for the Christmas raffle. And the last time you saw these, I had almost finished the first sock. So I can show you. Ta-da! This is the first sock, which is now finished, and I believe that is where I was up to. I say that, I may have just put that in there to remind me, excuse me, sorry, I may have just put that in there though actually, when it came to doing the toes, so maybe I was up at that point, no, who knows. Anyway, so the first sock is completely finished. I had finished that before we went on holiday, and I believe I had done the ribbing. Hopefully I will have edited out all the time that I keep doing that. I keep itching. No, I don't keep itching my nose. My nose is itchy, so I keep sort of like rubbing my nose. So sorry about that. Hopefully I will edit it out. Anyway, so I took my emergency pair of socks in case, and actually got loads done because we went on a trip to the Atlas Mountains in Morocco, to go to see beautiful waterfall. Apparently it's the second biggest waterfall in Africa, and I knew that we were going to have at least 2 hours on a coach, or as it turned out it was like a minibus, so I thought I'll take knitting with me. But I think the striping socks were at a point, I think I was at the heel flap or something like that, and I didn't want to, or I might have been decreasing the gusset, and I didn't want to take something that I'd have to actually watch what I was doing in case that made me feel travel sick. Whereas these socks, I had finished the ribbing on the second sock, so I knew it was just knitting in the round, stocking stitch for the leg. So I took it with me on the minibus. So as I say, it was 2.5 hours in the minibus there, 2.5 hours on the minibus, so I had 5 hours. And also, even better, we actually were at the front of the minibus next to the driver, which meant I had a really clear view of the road, so I could look up and down easily, and there was no worry about getting travel sick. So I did the entire leg, and then I even got the heel flap and gusset, well, heel flap done and started on the gusset. I haven't finished, I don't think I finished the gusset, oh, I've just finished the gusset decreases. So look, I've got all of this done on the second sock as well. So this is on my list to have finished now in the next couple of weeks by the end of August. That is the next pair of socks to make sure that these are finished by the end of August. And that will be another whip gone. And the only socks that I'm casting on for the next month or two are the Socks You Know It socks, and also possibly Handmade Sock Society socks might get cast on this year as well. But I'm really not wanting to do lots more socks this year. So yeah, gonna get this one finished in the next couple of weeks. Feel like that's easily achievable, and that will be another project off the needles. Right, so let's take that stitch marker and put it, or progress keeper, and put it in the right place. Bear with me. Okay, so what am I using to knit this with. Let me show you the yarn label and tell you the details. So this is King Cole Footsie, which is a non-wool sock yarn. It is made from 93% acrylic and 7% PBT. You get 430 meters for 100 grams, and the colourway is 4906, which is Christmas Fruit. So as I say, these are being given to my Sewing World consultant so she can use these in the Christmas raffle she does at the end of the year. Right, okay, so those were the 3 projects I took with me on holiday, and I think you can see I did pretty well with those. We were only on holiday for 10 days, so I think I did really well. Yeah, so before I went on holiday, one of the other things I was working on a lot was my Radvent cardigan, and I carried on working on that a lot and got as much of it done as I could. Obviously did not go on holiday with me, so let me show you the progress I have made on that. And this is now also going to be a focus for the next couple of weeks. So the Slimming World socks and this cardigan are 2 major focuses. This won't get finished by the end of August, but I would like to have it finished by the end of September, when I have another yarn show, Yarndale, and I really want to be wearing this at Yarndale. So this is being knitted with the little Likac Advent from 2024, which was called the colour purple. The rib is being done in the main skein, and you can see a couple of weeks ago, before I went on holiday, this is where I got to. This was the progress keeper. Oh, let me show you the progress keeper because it's pretty long. So that's where I got to last time I podcast. This is how much more I've done. And I am so pleased with it. I'm absolutely in love with how this is knitting up. Now I'm at the point where I'm knitting back and forth. But what I am using is I'm actually using 2 circular needles with needle stoppers at the end, and that seems to be working really well, because although it's front, back, you're knitting forward and back, you are you've got the curve of the sleeve. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well. Let me move the progress keeper now while I remember. I'm aiming though to try and put at least 1 mini into this every day, and keep working on this, at least 1 mini a day. Hopefully some days I might get more than 1 mini done. I have already started the rib for the second sleeve as well, because I felt that it was going to be a drag. I know that the ribbing for the first sleeve was a bit of a drag. I can't remember if this is the right sleeve or the second sleeve, but I'm just going to show you how it looks as a sleeve. I think we can all agree it's blooming beautiful. Sizing wise, I'm really happy with it so far as well. So yeah, I've only got I think 2 more colours to put in, and then I start on the other side, I think. Yes, that's right, 'cause this is colour 10. I've only done a little bit, a couple of rows of colour 10. So I'm absolutely loving the pattern and loving how the colours are coming out. So this is colourway 10, and yeah, absolutely beautiful. Won't be finished by the end of August, but will be finished by the end of September. Let me just show you the colours that are still to go into this. I'm so enjoying this. This is in my Stephen West treat to myself project bag. So this is the redesigned, West Knits redesigned project bag. I think this is bag 9, I think. I think that's what it's called. Oh, actually I've still got the label on, refusing to take the label off. Does it say? Project 10, that's what it's called, in the aubergine colourway, which is the one that's exclusive to West Knits. But there we go. So yes, that's definitely a project that's going to be worked on over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully get that finished 3 or 4 weeks time, maybe before. And then another work in progress. So again, I was going through trying to tick things off, and I went back to a blanket that I'd started earlier this year, which is a crochet blanket, and it is the Willow pattern. I've not brought the book down with me. It is the Willow pattern from the book Crochet 200 Crochet Blocks by, I think her name is Jan Heaton or Jan Eaton. And I was using the minis from my mystery club that I'm running this year. And I'm using the DK minis, and I had only done January, February and March. So I've put in April's colours. And interestingly though, these have crocheted up a little bit bigger than the previous ones. And these are the squares for April. So I've still got May, June, July and now August to put in. These were July's colours. Very summery. I think that's not quite right. What have we got else? I think I'm missing one. I need to double check. I'm missing one. There should be one that goes with that, which I'm not sure what it was. These were June's colours. So I'm missing whatever the colour was which went with May. I have to double check what that was. Oh well, hopefully I've still got some left. So yes, been working on those. Because each month of those, I'm not counting them as a finished object as such, but I've got them kind of on a list so I can get them ticked off, because I am trying to feel like I'm achieving something by crossing things off a list, really. I think that's all I've been working on. But I have got some new acquisitions to show you. So I'm still going to answer that question, show you what I bought while I was in Morocco. But before I went to Morocco, I was saying about how my daughter is moving cities. I drove up to Leeds to pick my daughter up and move her out, or move most of her stuff out of the room that she's in up in Leeds. And while we were there, we went to the Corn Exchange market hall there, and I knew that there was a yarn shop called Bellwether Yarns, and I was like, oh, let's just go and have a quick look in here. And Bellwether Yarns, the lady there does dye her own yarn as well, and I've not bought from her yarns before, but I thought I'm going to have a look. This is probably the last opportunity I'll have to buy from her, especially this is probably, well, not quite the last time of going to Leeds, but so I thought I'll have a look. And my kind of rule for myself when I buy hand dyed yarn is usually to buy something in a base that I don't dye myself. And in fact, this is a non-superwash yarn, so definitely I do not dye non-superwash yarns. And it is 70% baby alpaca, so straight away it is just so soft. 20% silk, 10% cashmere. It's non-superwash. The colourway is Blackberry Bliss, and here it is. Look at the sheen on that. But I also decided to pimp it up just a little bit. And I bought, and I've seen this at one of my local yarn stores, actually, Nibbles, Needles and Hooks, and I've been considering it, although she didn't have it in this colourway. So this is Rico Creative Make It Bloomken, which is basically a tiny little thread with little glittery sequins, and if you hold that with your yarn, then obviously you are going to give your yarn a beautiful glitz. So this is in the colourway 010. It has a meterage of 375 metres, and this is a meterage of 400. Okay, so we should be fine. If it turns out, whatever project I decide to do, and I'm thinking obviously a shawl, I say obviously, but I'm thinking a shawl. If I run out of this before I run out of that, that's fine. If the last couple of rows, 25 metres, if the last couple of rows, it won't even be that, will it? If the cast off basically doesn't have that in it, that's absolutely fine. Right, let's talk about other acquisitions. So, somebody told me, it was Nancy from Kitty Scrapper, that she has been buying lots of yarn off of Vinted. Now, I think I did know that people sold yarn on Vinted, but I hadn't really gone down that rabbit hole. Anyway, I started looking on Vinted and I'd started favouriting some yarns, and somehow the night before we went on holiday, I think it was the night before, I saw what I thought was a bit of a bargain. Then on Vinted, I don't know if you know the app, you can put in an offer as well. So if somebody is selling something, you can make an offer and say, well, instead of that amount of money, I'll give you that. And she'd got 2 loads of the same yarn. There was a lot of 10 balls of it, and then another one of 12 balls. So I contacted her and said, if I bought all 22, would you do it for this price? In fact, and also actually she'd also got 3 balls of another yarn as well. So I basically made her an offer for all of the yarn and she accepted that. So what did I order? I bought 22 balls of this Serdar Wash and Wear DK double crepe, which is acrylic. It is 50 gram balls. It is 55% acrylic, 45% nylon. It is a good workhorse acrylic in a very pretty shade, and I had it in my head as well that I could hold it double. It's a relatively high twist, but I'm thinking possibly holding it double. I might swatch with that and see what I feel the fabric is like held double. So I've got 22 balls of this. Yeah. But I was thinking I could make myself a nice sweater, jumper, so possibly something a little bit lacy, or even something that's just fairly plain. I quite like, what's her name, Knititude. Is that how you pronounce it? Knititude. She's got like the easy eyelet yoke sweaters in a similar colour to this, actually, her sample is. So, but I think it uses maybe Aran weight or worsted weight. So anyway, we'll have a look, see how that works doubled up. That was what was in my head when I bought it. And the other 3 balls that I got from her was this Serdar Special DK in the colourway Violet. 3 balls of that. It's just a useful add-in to put into my I've got kind of like a stash of acrylic like this that I use for crochet blankets. So again, I just made her an offer and she accepted the offer, so I've got 3 balls of this which will just go into my blanket stash. So I bought those the day before we went to Morocco. Anyway, so yarn in Morocco, what's the sitch? So we did 2 trips when we were in Morocco. The second one was the waterfall one, which I told you about. The first one was a very special trip, but there was definitely not going to be any yarn buying. The first one was, we went in a hot air balloon. above the Atlas Mountains. Well, not actually above the Atlas Mountains, that is not true. You're not going to go above the mountains, but in the Moroccan desert with views of the Atlas Mountains. Now, if you are a long-term viewer of the podcast, you may remember I went to Egypt 2 years ago, and the plan had been to do a hot air balloon trip in Egypt, and it got cancelled twice. So this was still on my bucket list, and I'm so thrilled that we got to do it. Funnily enough though, there was no yarn to be bought on that trip. The second trip was to the waterfalls, and we did literally go to the waterfalls, come back from the waterfalls. We stopped at kind of like a little servicey place where, you know, you could get a coffee and some water, a bit of snacks. Again, no yarn. But we had planned on going to the Medina, the market in Marrakesh itself. And I thought, it's possible I might be able to get some yarn there. But we didn't go. We didn't go, and that's partly because the incredible strong heat. It was actually beginning to make me feel a little bit ill on some days, and we decided not to go. We have been to Marrakesh before, we have done the Medina before and the Market Square before. I still feel that I would like to do it again, but we are thinking maybe in a few years' time, when I've retired from teaching, that perhaps we will go back and do Marrakesh for a short trip at a completely different time of the year. When it's not 45 degrees, because it's just really quite an overwhelming heat for going and doing things. So I did not buy any yarn from Morocco. However, I still had my Vinted app even while I was in Morocco, and as I said, I had been looking, and there was something else that caught my eye. So while I was in Morocco, I ordered something from Vinted which was yarn based. And it was actually an Advent, so an Advent that somebody else had bought from last year from Botanical Yarn, and they had opened the Advent. They'd got had seen it all but decided it wasn't really their colours, and so they were selling all the yarn from the Advent, not any of the extras. I don't know what the extras were, but all the yarn, and it was beautiful, and they are very much my colours. And you know, Botanical Yarn, I know she's a very good dyer, and I was like, oh my goodness, I think I'm gonna have to have that. So I bought this yarn while I was in Morocco, but I didn't buy it from Morocco. Let me show you. Now this is in plastic bags, because obviously it's 24 20-gram minis, so it's still in a bag, and then the 100-gram main skein that came with it as well. So here is one end of it. Unfortunately it's not numbered either, so I will at some point have to get it all out and try and organise it. And here is the second half of it, and the main skein. So you can see it may not have been that owner's colours, but boy are these my kind of colours. So yes, I did purchase that while I was in Morocco, but not in Morocco, if that makes sense. But not from Morocco. Now I have one last acquisition to show you, and this was a gift because, as I said, yesterday was my birthday. I had put a few, well not very many, but I had put a couple of pattern books actually for suggestions for birthday or Christmas, and I did receive one of those. And this is the new Sari Nordland book called Summer Knit. And I don't know how I'd seen this. I think I'd seen an advert for it perhaps on Instagram. I'm not sure now. And it has got some beautiful patterns in it. For, funnily enough, summery tops. I think there's even a skirt. And so yes, I put this down on my kind of birthday ideas list, and yeah, the husband bought it for me. So to see, oh, there is a skirt. I think there might be two skirts in here. Not sure how I feel about knitted skirts. I think I'm just worried that they would fall down. There's kind of like a little peplum top there. So, absolutely beautiful book, lots of inspiration. The one thing I would say is with some of the photographs, because they photographed, they did all the photography in Rome, some of the photographs you can't actually see much of the knitwear because they focus so much on the things around it. But it is a lovely, oh, look at that dress. Oh, that is lovely. If I was a bit slimmer maybe, but that is pretty. But yes, so here's another example. To me, the feature of the photo is that rather than the top or the cardigan. But there are then close-ups. So that, there we go, there's a close-up of that cardigan. But yeah, so it's a beautiful book. Sari Nordland, I don't think I've knitted anything of hers before, but I've seen other podcasters talk about her patterns and maybe knit some of her patterns before. And so I think this is, I'm not sure how many patterns are in here, at least 15? No, 23. 23 patterns, including lightweight tops, flowing dresses, delicate scarves. So some lovely designs in there. Very, very happy to receive that. I think that was the only knitting related birthday present I got, which is fine. That's not a complaint, by the way. But yeah, right, okay, so I think that's me finished for today. I will podcast again in 2 weeks, hopefully before I go back to work. I will be back at work 2 weeks today. Ugh. I've got so much to do though. I've got the Advents to dye, I've got to start prepping yarn for Yarndale, so it's going to be a busy couple of weeks. I may be off my proper job, but I'm definitely not going to be not working. Lots to do for little Likac. So yeah, I will podcast in a couple of weeks, probably then the weekend before I go back, so the 31st of August. I'll podcast that weekend and get that out to you, and we will do the draw then for the June Socks You Know It Make Along. And thank you for watching, and I will see you then. Take care, bye for now.